Hello, I'm Chris Bouchard, and this is a commentary for The Hunt for Gollum. I'm sitting here with a couple of my colleagues.
I'm Brian Lavery, one of the many co-producers on the film.
I'm Maharaj, assistant producer.
Cool.
So Independent Online Cinema is a company that Chris set up for this film, isn't that right?
Yes, Independent Online Cinema is just a name which we thought sounded cool and represented that we're independent. Obviously the film's going to be online.
So many people have seen these shots actually, that snow shot, and think it's real. It's amazing.
Yeah. It was all done, in fact these two shots were done in a program called View, which is a landscape generator program, and Stefan Menzel did both of those shots. He's a very talented guy.
He also did the German subtitles for the film as well.
Did he?
Yeah.
Didn't know that. So these shots were actually matte paintings done by quite a few of the guys on Adam's team. And there it is, Adam Thomas's prized shot, the ring, floating through the cave. So here in this prologue I really just wanted to set the scene of Middle-earth and try and make people realise we're just before the Fellowship of the Ring and things are beginning to boil up and the ring's been found, but we also wanted to tell about Gollum, and Gollum's out there, and try and set up there's a lot of information to set up actually that Gollum knew about the ring, and that's why they needed to hunt him down and find him. So it's kind of filling in the background before we hit the first scene with Gandalf telling Strider more in more uncertain terms of exactly why we must go and get him.
Was it always going to be Gandalf who was going to be doing the prologue voiceover in your mind?
Yes, it was. Partly because, for some twisted reason, that I'd heard that Ian McKellen really wanted to do the Fellowship of the Ring introduction prologue, and I actually thought that he would have been quite good at it. I certainly think the one they had was good.
It was Galadriel, wasn't it?
He was, yeah. Well, I think Gandalf's perhaps more of a narrator type character in Lord of the Rings, so it was nice to have him do it.
I quite like Kate Blanchett's voice though.
She has a stunning voice, and it works so well that, you know, I can see why they did that. Yeah. So, the Prancing Pony, which was the Spaniards Inn in Hampstead, lit very dark.
Why did you choose the Prancing Pony as a location? Why was it the Prancing Pony?
That's pretty much where the Rangers would have been hanging out. They sort of were ranging around Arnor, which is just north of Bree, the little town where the Prancing Pony is, and it's kind of a meeting point of many different roads in Middle-earth, so that's where they would have quite possibly met up now and again for secret meetings and planning out their sort of tactics in their fight against the Mordor.
And for fish and chips.
What was that, Lavery? I don't think they had any food to eat on the day. It was just sipping water from those mugs which Lisa Welling decorated the set with.
I thought this was one of the best lit scenes in the film.
Yeah, which brings us on to the guy who's done a huge amount of different roles in the film, Gareth, who not only is the voice of Gollum, but was the DOP for this shoot, and did the lighting and did all sorts of things, camera work, and was also playing a role as the big orc Goblock, who we're going to see later on.
Was he joint DOP with Chris Charles for this shoot?
He was. Well, he was more DOP doing the lighting, I think, and Chris was doing camera operating.
Okay.
I just think the wig and beard on Gandalf here, on Pat O'Connor, it's brilliantly done by Carly, I have to say. Really, really brilliantly done.
Did you have smoke for this scene as well, I think?
Yeah, we had a smoke.
You can sort of see just in the
we had a little
shot
bit
there.
of smoke, yeah.
Yeah, some shots is smoke, some there isn't.
We like to mix it up a little bit.
We cut this scene down quite short in the end, but there it is. I think Pat's just great, the way he does Gandalf. And
his voice is absolutely terrific.
Yeah.
It reminds me a bit of Patrick Stewart sometimes.
Yeah, he's got that, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Here we are in freezing Wales, almost 2 years ago.
Where it all began.
Should also
So
mention
another CGI shot there. Statue by Jean-David Solon. Spent a long time making that statue in 3D and tracking it in there. It was a pretty tricky shot, one of the most tricky shots we did.
How many VFX shots did you have in the film in total?
We had over 100 shots.
over 100.
As Adam probably told you. Probably 130 odd, I think.
Adam Thomas is our visual effects supervisor, and he's a really he's an interesting, cool guy. I call him the rock star. He has dreadlocks and nice cool glasses, sunglasses and everything, so he's a big guy. Lucky to have him on board.
Yeah, I think Adam literally dedicated 3 or 4 months of his life to making the visual effects come alive, and he has such a great love and knowledge of Tolkien as well. He really managed to try and make everything as true as possible.
Yeah, I think he was probably had more knowledge of Tolkien than anyone, really.
Yeah, well, he did pit me at a few things. Yeah, I'd say.
It's like, oh god, I don't know, an email from Adam.
There's one of his shots right there on the mountain. Wonderful. Some great music here by Adam Langston, I have to say.
Which mountains would those be? Those would be the Misty Mountains?
These are indeed the Misty Mountains, which we kind of assumed that Aragorn was going to cross at some point, and this would be a good way to put a bit of an epic feel to Middle-earth.
In terms of script, how much did you actually work from in the books, and how much did you?
Well, the books were. The Hunt for Gollum was sort of referred to all through the Fellowship of the Ring by Gandalf and Aragorn. They retold what they did, but it was pretty vague. So there was a lot of. Basically, they just said, we spent a long time hunting for him, and it was really difficult. So it was pretty free to invent what actually happened, and that was nice to sort of imagine what would Aragorn have done along the way, and that kind of thing.
It's quite a.
That's the first shot we ever shot of the movie. This one.
Really?
We'd all arrived. That was midnight on the first day. Telephone day.
That's Brian's telephone.
That's actually Gladys, the co-producer, calling Brian, by the way, I can point out.
But Chris, I'm sure it's probably a
this was
a task to actually to make like possibly probably a half an hour film of 8 years of a journey of Aragorn's journey, because it's 8 years, isn't it, in the book?
Well, yeah.
For Gollum.
Yeah, exactly. Now he's such a solitary guy that, I was thinking about a couple of films. Like I think there's. I can't remember. What's that Desert Island film with Tom Hanks?
Castaway.
I was thinking a bit of that and how they did, a solitary man kind of feature film. But we didn't want to make it too long and sort of boring with just.
I think that might have been my hand. Or was it Iron's in the end?
I don't know actually, because we swapped you in, didn't we?
Yeah.
We'll say it's yours, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna claim that credit.
Before you broke it, of course.
Well, it was the other hand.
Arathea's hand, Brian Lee.
So we meet Arathea. Now this was a very rushed shoot in this morning. 6 a.m. we all trekked down there in the freezing fog.
It was cold.
God.
And you'd worked with Aaron and Adrian on your previous film, hadn't you?
That's right, yeah. Human Residue, which was our experimental sort of horror project. And I met both those guys on there. Really great guys, good friends, and good fun to work with.
Did you have those trees, so those leaves and everything at the forefront of the shot? And the
Yeah, that was done by Mathieu, actually. He was our lead matte painter, and he lives in Germany. He works for a computer game company, and he does art work for them. He's an art director. But he took on a large number of shots. In fact, a lot of the really beautiful shots you see, which are effects or grand views, the backgrounds were done by him. And he did a few other sneaky shots as well, like that, adding foregrounds and he boosted up the fire in this scene at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I think this was the shoot where it was getting darker and darker by the second, and which is why it's all a bit dark in these shots.
Nice bit of smoke again as well from a real fire, which I think we created by burning a bit of tissue paper and then letting it burn for a little while.
Standard loo roll arrange a campfire, I think.
Don't try this at home, kids.
It's true, I think we did have quite a few, like a lot of interest and tricks for like the how the light was created by like a torch with someone's fingers in front of it. And
Flickering light, yeah.
Needs a fancy smoke machine.
The great thing, everyone just jumped into different roles that they
Yeah.
weren't really supposed to be doing, and I don't know, the costume people were doing the firelight, lighting, flickering their hands, and everyone's. It's a great thing about this production, I think, is everyone just sort of got stuck in and helped out and enjoyed it. And that was great.
This is back at the Spaniard again.
Yeah.
Upstairs. I think it's the same. It's the same. It's the same room, but it's on the other side.
Well, some with this window downstairs is.
Yeah,
is
well, the
room
window
upstairs.
downstairs. The window's downstairs, but this is the other side of the Gandalf scene.
Yeah, which we turned into this little hut, which is actually a photo I took on my phone. That hut of a reconstructed village in Essex, which is near where my girlfriend lives. And we wandered down. I took a few photos on my phone and sent them off to the VFX guys. I think that was Brett who did that one, and he turned it into a moving shot and put a sky in and a different background.
And a little dog.
Even that little dog.
Yeah.
I think the dog's coming up actually. Oh no, that
The
was
dog
the
was at the
isn't it?
beginning.
Yeah.
So Tara the horse making an entrance, and a little bit of an elvish farewell, which Julianne cooked up. It's a nice thing, and off he goes. Literally.
Yeah.
If you watch the behind the scenes, you'll find out more about the perhaps accidents we had with the horse there. But it was a great day that day filming with that horse. So we're trying to sort of show him keenly on the hunt here, and perhaps getting a few signs on the ground, sort of ranges. It's one of the things I wish we could have shown a lot more of actually, is the ranging tracking skills, and just due to our schedule and budget it was difficult to get around to filming all that stuff, and but in the end we hopefully get the impression that he's travelled a reasonable
We did get a bit
way
of
by now.
help with tracking skills from Gary.
Yeah, Gary Whale
Gary Whale, great.
from Bearclaw Bushcraft, if you want to do a plug, and he teaches survival stuff, doesn't he? It was great. He came down and taught Adrian all about how to trek and how you actually would look at the ground in a certain way, and sort of look forward and follow different markings. Always be looking ahead as you're moving along, and how you could trek quite quickly, and that's how they do it in the bush.
I remember you had quite a bit of problem with this scene. You weren't sure whether to include it or not in the final film.
Yeah, this when we had the rough cut, which was 55 minutes long and really just sort of rough assembled, very, very slow and stuff. We kind of chucked this at the beginning. It was going to be the first scene of the film. It was going to be in the middle, because it's kind of disjointed from the story. But as you can probably tell, I do like my orcs, and this was great fun just to give them a bit of dialogue and the Cockney Orcs. Invented by Peter Jackson. Someone was saying we should have done our orcs with Kiwi accents to strike back at
Yeah.
Peter Jackson.
French
Not that he'd be
accents.
watching.
We should have done them with all French accents.
You might watch.
Yeah.
Richard Taylor from the original films, who was the special effects supervisor, I think.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
seen something somewhere. I think he's commented on some of the film.
Yeah, right. Wow. So the blood in the orc's mouth was some sticky concoction made up by the art department.
You do love your blood.
Yeah, I realised there's quite a lot. Oh dear. The problem with putting it online is you can't really restrict the ratings, can you?
No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll
I
be
had to
okay.
tone down some of the visual effects guys who were putting this blood spurting out of these
Yeah, because
wounds.
there was
It's quite
that blood
ridiculous
later
to
coming
unfold.
on, isn't it? Gollum.
So this is Aragorn's sort of skill. What he does, he often puts his head to the ground and he can hear the rumour of the earth. And so I just wanted to give a nod to that, which is in the books and the films a bit. But
And also that he
This-
can hear Gollum coming closer.
So where was this
Yeah.
shot? Was it
So this
also
is-
in Wales? Or
This was out in Wales, yeah,
Yeah.
on that very rainy trip.
Well, it is. It doesn't Wales have a lot of rain?
Yeah, well, we found that out.
So here's Gareth
There he
again,
is. Goblock
the DOP / Gollum / Goblock.
/ concept
There
artist.
he is. Heavy breathing. So this wasn't actually a scene in the script, it was just improvised, which is why the cameras are all a bit crazy. It's all filmed in one shot and then hacked together in the edit, just to give you an idea that the orcs are out there and they're also looking for something. According to Tolkien, they'd probably actually be looking for Gollum, and there is a convoluted explanation why, which is that Sauron had already caught Gollum by this point. Not that Aragorn or Gandalf were aware of that, but Sauron had let Gollum go, thinking Gollum could go out and do more mischief. But then he changed his mind and realised that Gandalf and the leaders of the West might catch Gollum, so he sent off his orcs to recapture Gollum, and that's what's happening there.
He didn't want his surprise to get out.
Yeah, it's all sort of tactics and espionage at this stage before the war really got going, so that's what's going on. So finally we actually catch a glimpse of
there's a few different people who played Gollum, even in this sequence maybe. Is it all by the same person?
So this shot is actually Chris Dingley, filmed on a green screen on my roof, the one just back there.
That's one's
and
about
then
Matt,
comped into Mathieu's matte painting with some camera moves and 3D projection. It's quite cool. And then here, I think, yeah, that was the real Gollum and not the real Gollum, I think. It was Matt Cunningham dressed up as Gollum with fingers out in Wales, finger extensions, and a very ugly baby's head, as you will probably see in our behind the scenes.
And they're all created by Luke McNally then.
Actually, no, we got that one off eBay.
Really?
Yeah.
It's amazing what eBay
But he
can
did
do.
touch it up. He touched it up quite a lot. This prosthetics guy, Luke. He also did all the orcs, which was quite an incredible thing to take on.
I haven't seen that one. It's a brief shot of for Gollum there.
Yeah, it's just sort of cut frame in there. Still one of those things we chucked in there at the last minute and thought, just gives people a bit of a jump, but whether it works as well as that, I'm not sure. So with obviously one of our guys, I think that's Matt in the sack there, and just trying to sort of instigate some dialogue between a guy in a sack who doesn't really know the script, and Adrian. We had to do quite a lot of takes of that just to sort of try and get some kind of interaction between them. So obviously, I think Gollum's not going to be too happy about being caught up and stuffed in a sack. So
how did you create the effect of Gollum moving?
Oh, in there. Well, that's just a very simple trick of Adrian's. In that previous shot, he's got his arm round his back, just round the back of the camera, and his own arm is poking a stick and wriggling around the sack as he walks away. Very, very crude trick, which you can probably tell if you watch it closely.
I don't think you can probably tell. Now that you pointed it out, they will look for it, but...
It's one of the few Steadicam shots we kept in there, which I do like doing.
Is you doing a Steadicam at this point?
I don't know, I think JP and I did a couple of them. I do quite like doing those.
Actually,
by the way, it's not a real Steadicam, it's a very cheap piece of metal with a counterweight, homemade practically Steadicam.
But it works pretty damn well.
It does seem to work.
It's a MacGyver sketch.
It's amazing what you can do. I think this whole project's been about trying to do stuff without spending any money, and really we just have spent absolutely nothing, and we've only spent a bit of money on costumes and jam sandwiches.
Yeah.
And that's
Hunt for
literally been
Gollum
it.
by MacGyver.
Hope. So in Wales again, and then there we go to Hampstead Heath.
I really love the lighting in this shot as well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, when you get that soft cloudy light through the trees, you can grade a much better day for night.
Just so blue.
Where did Gollum's song come from? Is that
now that little song, it's one of the riddles which he asks Bilbo in The Hobbit, so we sort of took those lines and Gareth improvised them into a little song.
Yeah.
Didn't think we'd use it, we were just doing it for fun, and then we actually stuck it in there. Seemed to do the job. It's a bit of a joke.
That's the Parents of the Ring, right?
So the costume here by Soph for this rider was quite a mission to put together. Loads and loads of fabric. And the horse there is a bit of a story behind.
Yeah.
That horse, which
Well,
isn't
well,
quite
it's
as
not-
big
yeah.
as we'd hoped.
It's not a horse,
There's a lot
really.
of
but
stories
it's,
behind it.
it's quite a small horse.
We could talk for hours about that horse and the various attempts to make a horse without having a real horse, and then using a small pony.
It looks fine, I think.
Well, we kind of get away with
It's
this.
fine.
Another digital effect there. Don't realise you're actually seeing all these visual effects here without necessarily looking like they are. That horse was put into that background, for example. And here, Gollum, the movement of Gollum in that sack is
It's matte, isn't it?
is-
It's
no,
matte.
the sack was empty. It's a sort of an overlaid, comped over. We got a
Is
bit
it?
of the movement of one shot, the close-up shot, chopped it out, and put it into the wide shot. But there, we've got Stoff with his arm in the sack, lying down just behind Adrian in a very
Oh.
strange position, wiggling around.
Who's Stoff?
Stoff was a friend of mine from Resi. He came down to that first Wales shoot and did all the props, bits and bobs. So yeah, those blue eyes there.
Everyone loves
I
Adrian's
think
eyes.
Adrian's
Yeah.
just
Everyone loves
Adrian's
Adrian.
been a
He's a beautiful
saint
man.
the way he's put everything into the film and just come back for shoot after shoot after shoot, and even pickups and reshoots, and just put his heart into the fight scene coming up. And he really didn't
terrifically-
like that costume. It was so uncomfortable for him. He was sweating and and the wig and everything, and he's a city man in
He's not
heart,
the-
I think.
Yeah,
He
he's a-
realised he wanted to be a ranger. He is a ranger. He became a ranger.
He's not a person to complain, really. Adrian.
Oh, he's
it's very much
so
not his
patient.
nature.
He was very patient, and he'd put up with all these really painful costumes tugging around his neck,
I
strangling
love
him
this
and
this
stuff.
bit where
Yeah.
I think it's so funny.
I love the smile he did when he looked over his shoulder at Gollum.
Yeah. And finally, the big moment in terms of probably what all the crew want to see, this big orc fight.
What most of the people worked on. There's
Yeah.
50
Yeah.
people on this shoot.
I think it was
Yeah.
the
Forest.
biggest shoot. I believe it's
Yeah.
4 days in May.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All of us
Yeah.
camped out at Epping Forest.
It was kind of trying to think when writing the script what's going to happen in the film, what's going to happen along his journey. Obviously, couldn't resist putting in he's going to run into some of the forces of Mordor. So here we go with a nice little horde of orcs. I was thinking these are quite a ragtag bunch. They've probably been hiding out in the Misty Mountains, or raiding a few villages around
raiding.
nearby and rampaging
Raiding.
around. And here we're in Mirkwood here, as we are for quite a lot of this stage of the film. We kind of default forest, I guess, which we could get away with because Mirkwood is such a vast forest in the books, which
Roaring
is
Carl.
Epping Forest, of course.
Well, a mixture of forests, I suppose. We
Yeah,
had Chobham, Common, Epping Forest,
We did,
Hampstead Heath
actually.
at some point,
yeah.
and maybe somewhere else.
There's Goblet
There they
and a
go.
good old roar. So the choreography of this was done over 10 or 11 different training sessions with all these orcs practicing the routine until they got it really fast, so that we could actually we did run a few full takes of the whole fight. And so Ruth Cooper Brown, Rich Van Williams really put a lot of work into coaching these guys and coaxing them.
And some of the orcs came back to life to die a second time, of course.
Yeah.
You might notice a few costume changes or slight. He's wearing a helmet, killed, helmet off, killed again. And we're stretching that a bit, I think.
Yeah.
But we just didn't have a budget to get so many orcs made and so many orc costumes, so many guys down there trained up.
Yes.
It's a
Because
dangerous
it's
thing to
down
do.
again.
Dangerous thing to these fights. People did get a few bashes.
I
Yeah.
did notice, yeah.
It always happens, and it's always a risk that you take, and you have to take all the safety precautions you can. And I think Ruth was really on that.
Yeah, it was great that we had Ruth and Rachel just because they
God,
knew so
yeah.
much. I mean,
We couldn't
without
have-
them, I don't know
Couldn't
what
have
it
done
would
anything
look
like this without those two, and
I remember
the amount
standing.
of preparation they put into it was really quite amazing.
I remember standing next to
These two
to
fellas.
Goblock when he was shouting and yelling. He almost blew my ears out.
Now this,
He was totally into character.
whenever he comes on screen, it just makes me smile because the way Gareth took on this role of this character, and And I just wish we could do a spin-off with Goblock, just rampaging around with his band of orcs, and as we did in London.
Yeah.
There's some video online of him going around London with a few of the orcs, which is great.
Which is a bit of a publicity
Yeah.
idea.
But he's just, once he puts on the mask, he becomes the inner orc.
You know, pretty much practically on set the whole time.
It's the funniest
Everything
thing you could imagine. Yeah.
He evolved through makeup, which took about 3 hours. He was Goblock.
And
This fight as
he
well
would
took a
speak to you as the orc, Goblock, you know, and
Yeah.
you
He was
gotta
always
watch
in
out and
character.
don't want
wasn't
to piss him off.
Yeah.
Sort of come up behind you and give you a big sort of start sniffing in your ear and stuff.
It's a great fight for Adrian.
He actually set up a Facebook page for Goblock, and I think we should get him to resurrect it, because if people see the film, they can go to his Facebook page and they can befriend him,
Show some support.
prove he's not dead, even though he probably is. I was cursing myself that I was cursing the sun for coming out on this shoot, because it's supposed to all be day for night, and as you can probably tell, some nice bright patches of sunlight. So I was sort of thinking maybe the sun's just come up, and that's why it looks like that. But you, on the day of the shoot, you get the weather you get, and you've got 50 people come down there. They're not going to come back another time. You've spent so much money to get that location or whatever, so you have to just go for it and live with the.
I mean, that is
dodgy
the
lighting.
constraints of low budget. Is everything has to
Yeah.
be done then. You don't have a second chance, and maybe this is a professional shit with loads of money that have had
They
a
might have
studio
delayed it, or they might have.
you know, who knows
Yeah.
what.
Might have
We didn't have
erected
that
a
option.
huge sheet to block out the sun. Might have actually.
Or they might have set up a studio or something and shoot it in there, make it
Yeah.
look like exterior.
So he's kind of been hit by a poison dart, which we didn't show in the fight, and we did have a shot of an orc blowing a poison dart at one point, but in the end we took it out and we thought, you get the idea, and you realise he's been hit somewhere in there, and if you're fighting, you might not realise, so we're seeing it from his point of view, and you don't realise until the pain hits you afterwards, after it's over. And so sort of we get to see a more ethereal side of him, and here, where he's kind of almost blacking out, and he's reaching for that flower, which is supposed to be Athelas, yeah. It's the healing flower of Middle-earth, which the Rangers actually use when they do get hurt to cure themselves. So when he's stumbling around, he's actually perhaps searching for hopefully finding that flower, and he just does stumble upon it.
There's Rita.
So Rita, yeah,
Who did
glowing with ethereal light there.
Everyone who has actually seen this elf scene with Rita and Adrian, they just can't help but smile. It's a nice, beautiful scene.
It's a change, isn't it? The music that Adam did here was wonderful.
Music is amazing for this bit.
It really takes you away, and you sit back and enjoy.
What made you decide not to have Rita speak or move her mouth?
It just seemed nicer to have this ethereal voice and add to the dreamlike quality of the scene, to actually have her gaze there, which is really strong, and then the voice echoing around and coming from internal. The other thing is the elves actually did speak to one another without moving their lips, and that's one of the things they can do, so sort of nodding towards that. Gotta say, there's a huge amount of work went into those costumes by Natalie in that scene. Really a lot of work. Looked fantastic. She's now working on BBC projects for costume, which is great. She's really come a long way since she did this stuff.
My favourite bit was Arwen's cloak, the blue cloak.
Yeah.
Just amazing. I think
The
she's
colour there is great.
Yeah.
I would say it's a crowning achievement that
Yeah.
she said she said, oh, I already had that cloak. And then
Yeah, she didn't actually make the special. She adapted it from what she'd
some
already had.
party in Venice.
Yeah.
Cool. So shooting this in the middle of the night was a bit of a thing. This flame burning brand, and trying to get any light into the camera on this night shoot was a right pain. As you can tell, it's all very dark.
I believe you only had, what were they, fog lights? Like 4?
Well, it was really one light, which was
Yeah.
4 500-watt B&Q floodlights
Yeah.
strapped together and hoisted up a tree, running off a small generator. It wasn't really enough, but it's just enough. You can just about make up what's going on. apart from in this in these 4 shots here.
It's a great.
But the sound done here, the sound design, I think, is definitely worth mentioning. A lot of works went into the sound of the whole film from a big sound team, 5-6 guys.
Who did the
This
Black
section-
Rider sounds?
Well, that's what I was going to point out. Is Marco. And he's a guy who came on board 4 or 5 months ago, and I assigned him 2 or 3 scenes to sound design, along with his friend Nikos. And he just went to town on this scene with creating every single sound you hear, from every single footstep, flame flickering, and of course the scream of the rider, which he simulated to be fairly similar to the originals. I think he used different animal sounds combined there, horses and cats.
So it reminds me a bit of a pig.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sword sounds he's done, and I think even Adrian's breathing he did himself actually, because we didn't have it on this day because everything was just generator noise and smoke machine going there crazy. It's pouring with rain at the time as well. You can't really see that. We had all these umbrellas around for the crew. It was all quite spooky because outside of the bit we were shooting there was no light whatsoever. It's pitch black in the forest.
And we did lose light a few seconds, and it was
yeah,
quite an
the generator
experience.
went out. You know, it's like, oh god, we can't see.
It's been quite scary.
It was quite an experience to actually stand in the middle of a forest with no light,
Yeah, it was,
and it's so quiet.
could easily get lost and wander off away. So the rides actually sort of suddenly disappeared, which was a bit strange, and then we realised that, as well as perhaps the fire being one of the things it will flee from.
Is that how it connects to
The smoke
starship?
would help with light on a dark night, wouldn't it?
It does,
picks up light.
certainly, as you can see, but it's difficult for continuity actually.
Maximum Elf, as we call him, Max
yeah,
Bracey.
Max makes his entrance, and so the elves have kind of, the rides perhaps sense the elves have come there, and then we transition.
This is back to Mirkwood. This is the travelling shot of
Yeah,
Mirkwood
travelling
Forest.
through Mirkwood to Thranduil's halls, and this is where Aragorn ultimately takes Gollum, along with the elves who sort of picked up Gollum for him, and he meets with Gandalf, and they learn what they feared has actually happened. And so it's kind of, now we're wrapping up and preparing for the Fellowship of the Ring, and just sort of exploring that. And so this was shot in a church. Just to point out a few more things about the previous scene, there was another big fight choreographed by Ruth, and the music there, the fight scene music was by Adam Langston again, but the music for the transition just done, and the music for a lot of the other parts of the film was by Andy Skarjanubas, who I hope I pronounced your name right, Andy, who did a huge amount of the music for the film, and it ended up being about half and half how much of the score was done by each of them. And the quality they've done is brilliant.
It's going to be available online, isn't it?
The whole soundtrack, yeah, we're going to put it on the website.
And I think this shoot would have been the day after the Spaniards didn't shoot at the very beginning of the
Yeah, it
film.
was.
Yeah.
Just because we had to get the wig, which I don't know, was hard
Yeah,
for
it
you
was.
to keep that cost down.
It's
Yeah,
also
but it's one of the most expensive costs, hiring a wig for
Yeah.
2 days,
Yeah.
150 quid.
I think you were considering not going for it at one point, but
We're going to get...
we'll definitely accept that it was well
Yeah,
worth it.
there is a picture of Chris with an interesting wig.
I
Somewhere.
got this wig off eBay, which I thought might be alright. I thought they might be able to make
It was a
work.
Santa wig, ladies and gentlemen.
It was pretty awful, yeah. I'm glad I was persuaded otherwise, because this wig looks great. So here we do see quite a few more shots by Adam Thomas. All the shots of Gollum obviously are digital effects, often with Chris Dingley composited in as Gollum, so the actual Gollum himself is live action but processed, like here. This is Chris Dingley sitting on my roof on a green
Yes.
screen, and Adam and his team, I think Alan did the backgrounds for this. They created everything and made the cameras move and made that patch of light and put Gollum in there and put his shadow in there and turned Gollum into a shadow. And all these shots.
There he is.
And finally there
Yeah,
is.
big reveal of our
Now
Gollum.
this shot, probably I could talk for 20 minutes about that shot, which we saved up right to the end. It's done by quite a few people So we've got, I think we had a team of 10 people working on that one shot to actually make 3D Gollum. So we had a modeler, texture artist, someone doing the hair, someone doing the lighting, look dev, technical directing, and it turned into a massive team effort just to pull together that one shot. We wanted to do a few more, but obviously we ran out of time and felt that the most we could do was one, just to try and do it to fairly good quality.
One big one,
so we went for that one.
I think we all call it the money shot.
Yeah. The animator Mark Brocking, who sort of really tried to emulate Gollum's movements. And it's an incredibly difficult thing to do with a model that's been created in quite a rush. Really does look cool. It's a cool little ending to the film.
So the credits are going to go on for who knows how many minutes because of all the
It's
people that
ama-
were involved in the film.
I actually
I think I have a few.
I actually started doing the credits, and I think I called Chris a few times. It was like, did we have so many people in this project? Can we just?
So what was this? This was the orcs deciding to dance in the forest.
Oh yeah, there's lots of outtakes on our website.
So I remember
on the
that one in
documentary.
particular. Right? What brought that on?
Oh,
What were they
it's-
singing?
It was on. Chris had a megaphone,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and
Did JP stub his toe there? Or?
That's actually not JP, that's
Isn't it?
Stuart Price.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I think he had his foot attached to a camera there, and it was on a rope, and it was going down, running along some trees, and he had to run along, otherwise the camera would have stopped. That's why he's hopping forward. So we must just, I really just have to thank everybody who, I must say there are a lot of people here who've done a huge amount of work to try and make this film. And it's been just an amazing experience for everyone, a learning experience and a fun experience and a collaborative. It's been it's been a difficult experience. But
As
yeah,
you get chucked in the river.
As you can tell.
Oh yeah, last thing you're expecting. You just think you've wrapped for the day.
Most of
and you
these
can go
outtakes will
home.
be filmed by you,
You have
Ash, won't
like
they?
10 orcs rushing towards you.
Did you know about it beforehand?
Can't we
Yeah.
make us make something?
Everyone was in and
I
out
helped
of
set
that
it up.
because
I
they've
helped set
rationed
it up with Dan and Josh.
Yeah. Lucky.
So why
So we
is
have-
why is it called the Sex Pixels?
Sex Pixels. Well, that's down to Mark Pinheiro and his team of guys who were all students at the time, and they were doing. I think they were working on shots of the Hunt for Gollum and rotoscoping them and stuff for their student projects at one point. And it's great because they took on a number of shots, and they actually took out a lot of the latex problems we had on a couple of the orcs. Only in one scene we had a dodgy latex mask which was coming off and was rippling and stuff. We really wanted to get that 2 orc scene in there, and they worked incredibly hard. Don't know
All
how
these
they did it.
sponsors.
They simulated they 3D modelled his neck, and they somehow morphed it and put it over the top so that it wasn't rippling, so that you could actually believe in it. It's incredible. So it's just, I think it's cool to be able to do a film without a mega budget and put something out on the internet for free, and that's partly what this was all about, just to give people a free film and to give us as a film crew a chance to practice our filmmaking skills and say, hey, this is what we can do without any real funding. We can do this and have a good time doing it. So
I think
there we
many
go.
other production has they've said that there won't be another experience like the Hunt for Gollum.
yeah,
Ever
whatever
again.
they mean by that.
In a good way, because I think everyone really had a